You guys want me to use the microphone?
You need to for the live stream.
Need to for the live stream. Hi, can you?
You have to talk right into it.
I have to talk directly into it. Can you guys hear me okay? I feel like I'm gonna eat the microphone. Well, thank you so much for coming tonight. Steve and I are here to talk about the Small Projects Fund that was awarded to the Village of Cooperstown through the New York Forward application. Steve and I work for Mohawk Valley Economic Development District, or MVED. Steve is the executive director and I'm the deputy director. We're going to be the two main points of contact for any applicants or for any questions about the Small Projects Fund. So if you're not sure what the Small Projects Fund is, the village was awarded $270,000 to do these smaller projects that fall within the New York Forward boundary area. Most projects are going to run approximately 25,000 up to 100,000. So kind of keep that in mind. It's just an approximation. Doesn't mean there's not going to be one for 20,000, but that 100,000 really is a cap. So the program, when you're talking about eligibility of the program, I'll talk first about the eligible activities. It can be anything, any kind of interior, exterior building renovations for commercial and mixed use spaces. So if you're going to do any facade improvements, storefront improvements, permanent affixed signage, awnings, things like that, those are eligible activities. If you're going to do any interior fit outs, those qualify. HVAC, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, other permanent building improvements can be included. If you have an upper story residence, like if you have a mixed use building with apartments upstairs, if you want to renovate apartments, that can be included. That's an eligible activity. Any permanent commercial machinery and equipment is also an eligible activity. Public art is also one. Ineligible activities, you can't use this fund to purchase any property. You cannot use this fund for any deferred maintenance or general repairs. So if you haven't had your roof fixed in 20 years and it's needs to get replaced, that is not an eligible activity. That's a deferred maintenance. This cannot be used for working capital. So you can't use this to pay employees or anything like that. No landscaping and no improvements to municipally owned or operated buildings. And the reason for that is the municipality was able to apply for their own funding through the New York Forward. And then finally, one other thing is any participant's family or participant's staff cannot get paid out of this. So if you're awarded work, you cannot do the work yourself and get yourself paid through this award. If your brother is a contractor, he cannot do the work for you and get paid through this. That's all that means. There is some other eligibility. So the first one, you do have to be within the New York Forward boundary. We have a page on our website that is all of this information is going to get included, but this is on the Village of Cooperstown New York Forward website. So if you are outside of this boundary, your project is already excluded. Other eligibility. So nonprofit organizations can apply. Again, if you're inside the boundary area. When you're talking about membership organizations like the Masons or another organization that you have to pay to be a member of, those are a little gray as they're still eligible to apply, but the project has to be in a publicly accessible location. So for example, the Masons, they cannot do anything, they cannot get awarded for any projects where the public cannot just walk in and go to. If they have a downstairs commercial area in their building where the public can just walk in, no problem, then yes, that can get included. So it's a little bit of a gray area with there. Nonprofits absolutely are included. For-profit business owners absolutely are included. Business owners, property owners are included in that. So the other thing I want to talk about is a little bit about the timeline. So I do have hard copies of the application if you want to take one tonight. I am also going to be posting this to our website tomorrow morning. Give me a little bit of time. Don't go on there like at 8 a.m. It probably won't be there closer to 10. But it'll be a fillable PDF version that's on our website. Applications are going to be due June 13th. And awards are going to be announced at the end of July, beginning of August, with a tentative start date of fall. But at least, and if that fall timeline doesn't quite work, the project has to at least be started within a year of the award. So a little bit else with that, there is going to be some technical assistance available, and Steve's going to cover that piece. And actually, I am going to hand it over to him for the program process right now.
Thank you so much, Heather. I am Steve Smith, Executive Director of Mohawk Valley Economic Development District. We're located in the village of Mohawk. We cover 6 counties. Otsego County is one of them. We've been involved with this before. Heather wrote the whole application for the town of Richfield, and they were able to succeed in getting their New York Ford for the town of Richfield. We also helped out with the village of Herkimer and then getting their downtown revitalization for $10 million. If you just walked in, you might not have seen it, but there's agendas on that chair right over there. One of the things I also wanted to remind you, Heather spoke about, and there's one more thing to discuss. If you are doing any kind of outside work, the Cooperstown Historical Preservation Architect Review Board has to approve it before that can go forward. So just to let you know, I think they call it was the HPARB is the acronym for that. Okay. All right, here's the program process. Heather mentioned that the application will be on our website starting tomorrow. We also have paper copies up here. You might want to just take one of these anyway, because both our email addresses are on there and our website, mvedd.org, mvedd.org. So that, and the application will be fillable. So that will help as well. After the HPARB review, any facade requests will be reviewed by them first. There's going to be a committee. Heather and I will be taking in the applications. Once you complete them, you'll email them to us. So we're just going to make sure that everything that has to be in the application is good to go for the review. We can help you with those applications. You can call us up. We can have one-on-one over the phone. We can have virtual calls. And we might even have office hours. We have to pick a location, whatever. But there's going to be 5 people from the village of Cooperstown that are going to control the committee. So those 5 will be making and doing their due diligence to decide which of those applications will go forward to Homes and Community Renewal. That's New York State, HCR. HCR is basically going to be deciding and making the final vote. But the 5 people on the review committee will all be Village of Cooperstown residents. Okay, the applicant award notification. Now, we have down that as of June 13th, that's when the applications are due. All right, that's the final date for applications to be due. Then HCR, after their review process, they're thinking end of July to early August to make a decision. So that's when those folks will be notified. Now, during this entire time, from when you're filling out the application until the review process, and then finally HCR letting you know that you have been awarded, you still can't start your project until you sign it. There has to be an actual contract signing between HCR and the awardee, giving you the go-ahead to start your project. Then, after the signature, boom, boom, you can now start your project. Okay. Now, some of the other program requirements. Reimbursement. Now, you have to pay for the entire project yourself first, and then get reimbursed by HCR once the project is completed. You have to complete paperwork. We're done with the project. Once they're satisfied, you will actually then, at that point, get your grant. Up to 75%. So you have to put in 25%, that's your match. And the other 75% grant will be between $25,000 and $100,000. $100,000 is the most that they'll give out as part of the grant. Just to let everyone know, some folks, we deal with a lot of grants, businesses that are getting grants, municipalities, different organizations. And they can't afford to put in the grant portion because they don't have the funds. They have the funds to do the 25% match, but sometimes they didn't have 60, 70,000 that they wanted to use. They didn't want to cash in IRA or whatever. So they can borrow from a bank, a credit union, whatever. Our organization, we have a program called the Small Projects Gap Financing Program.
Yeah.
Close enough, gap financing. We can lend up to $100,000. And from the time we give you that money, we will just charge interest only for up to a year until your project is done. We charge 4% interest, and our collateral is the grant from HCR. We also ask for your personal guarantee. But we do charge 4%, which is probably better than bank financing. But it's helped out some small businesses that have the down payment. They have the 25%. But the gap portion is the grant. And, you want to pay 6, 7, 8% on the loan. Might take longer. There's fees. Ours is 4% fixed for up to a year. And we would just simply bill you once a month for the interest only. Technical assistance, like I said, Heather and I will we can help anyone with the application to get you through it. We can meet, we can virtual phone calls, and so on and so on. I think that's it on my portion. Do you have some closing moments?
I don't have any questions, but go ahead.
Okay. I'm sure you have a lot of questions or some questions. You want to know how the process works. We tried to explain it a little bit, but still some of those questions aren't answered yet. So if you'd like, raise your hand. We can call on you. And if you have a question about this small project fund, there is a total of $270,000 available, just to let you know that. I know the New York Ford was 4.5 million, some are for the bigger projects and those kind of things. Then they have a separate group for small businesses. And they give a certain portion, and this portion for this one is $270,000. So $270,000 of grant funding is available. Any question? Yes, sir.
So you have a maximum of $1,000. You have a minimum.
So we have. Most awards have a minimum of 25,000. However, if you have a project at 20,000, still feel free to submit it. It's at some point, once it gets too small, it's going to be too small because the grant funding is 75% of your total project.
Is there any other questions? No questions.
Yeah.
So because this is in a historic district, these are state funds, does it require a 1409 review?
So it does have to go through seeker, it does have to go through SHPO.
Okay.
And then also if it's facade improvements, that's why it has to go through HPARB first.
Right, okay.
And Steve and I can help with SHPO, we can help with seeker, so if those are foreign acronyms to you and kind of scary sounding, don't worry.
Can other funds like incentives, what if it's for mechanicals like heat pumps or things like that? Is there an assertive incentives? Can we do stacked?
Absolutely, you can do capital stacking. So if your total project, if you have So the example that Ellen was using is if you're gonna install a heat pump and there's rebates through National Grid or through NYSERDA, you are still eligible for those. Absolutely 100%. And it depends if National Grid rebates usually come off at the top.
We're in NICEAG here.
Oh, okay. NYSEG also has some and they usually come off of the top, but if there's any aftermarket rebates, like you have to install it and then you get the rebate, then those are, you can include those are yours.
You said no landscaping, but what about things like sidewalk repair, pavers, driveways?
So, New York State money cannot be used for any driveways or parking lots or things like that. So, no.
Exterior staircases
Exterior staircases, yes.
that are only on the building, but not in the property.
Because it's an exterior, it would have to get approved through HPARB, but it would still be an eligible activity as long as it's within the boundary.
You mentioned, like if the Masons, building, so. The Masons own a building and they have also stores downstairs on the sidewalk level, does that? Where the public could,
Yeah, as long as the public can enter the building, can come and go into the building without having to be a member, then that portion of the building can be included. If the Masons wanted, and I'm sorry, I don't know Masons speak, but if they wanted to, I don't know, redo their chamber upstairs that only Masons can go to, then the answer is no, that is an ineligible project.
gotcha.
Speaking more about artwork,
I'm sorry, more.
regarding artwork,
So yeah, murals and artwork on the side of buildings, those are 100% included. Again, because it's facade work, it does have to get approved through HPARB. Am I saying that right? HPARB? HPARB.
But that, so it's contingent, so the grant might be awarded in August, or does the project go through HMAR before?
So anything being requested for the facade, our process is we get the application. If it's any facade work, we're gonna send it to HPARB. They're gonna say if it can go forward or not. If it is, then we'll submit it to the committee for review.
Okay, so it's not the applicant's responsibility.
No, it is not the applicant's responsibility to submit anything to HPARB.
I just wanted to mention one more thing. As far as like contractors, Heather and I, it's what Homes and Community Renewal requests and demands, requires, you can't get around it. You have to use an HCR certified contractor. Heather has put out an RFQ, request for qualifications, all over the place around here. And once we get a list of those contractors, they have to be approved by HCR. Then if you're going to do a project where you need a contractor, you have to select from the list that we've obtained. You can't do it yourself. You can't have your brother-in-law do it. You have to use one of the contractors that HCR has approved.
So along that, if you have a contractor that you like and you think you're going to apply, put the bug in their ear that they should apply to get on this list so they can do the work for you.
I'm sorry, how did I get on that list?
So, excuse me, on our website, we have a request for qualifications. There's a link. It's actually, if you go to our website, it's nved.org. It's under communities, and then it's Cooperstown's SPF, Small Projects Fund, and all of the information is there. And there's a request for qualifications. They open the file up and they send me all of the information basically. And then Steve and I do our due diligence with verifying the information, verifying their insurance and all of that. And if everything is in line, then they go on the list and can do any of the work.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
We got 40 in there, so help us out.
And like I said, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be putting a web version of it. It'll be a fillable PDF if you prefer to do it that way as opposed to handwriting it and sending pictures or scanning it.
So painting falls under general maintenance as well, as far as the side goes. And I don't know if you touched on the paper question, you mentioned the roof and stuff,
Not the driveway pavers, just.
but
pavers.
sidewalk papers or.
So as long as it's not, I'm sorry.
Not the public right away, but the neighbors around it.
So as long as it's not considered landscaping, yes. It would be an eligible project,
Would be eligible.
as long as it's not considered,
Eligible in
yes, as long as it's not considered landscaping.
painting the whole building.
That is an eligible project, however, it has to go through HPARB first.
Yep.
On the side note for that, if there's any deferred maintenance, again, like you've got a broken window that should have been fixed last year, not included, because that's something, any kind of deferred maintenance or regular maintenance is not included in this funding.
But painting is not considered regular maintenance.
It is not.
That's great.
Replacement of windows to more efficient windows.
Again, yes. Eligible activity, however, has to go through HPARB, and a lot of the buildings here are in historical district. So you're gonna get SHPO involved in with that, and they may require a very specific type of window.
Or require restoration.
Yeah, or require restoration. And SHPO stands for State
Historic something preservation.
Office of Preservation.
Yeah.
State Historic Office Preservation, yeah. And seeker is just a fancy way of saying that you're not gonna do, you're not gonna harm any endangered species or any wetlands or anything like that.
Seeker is state environmental quality review, basically. So the checklist specifically.
Yeah.
Anything else?
How long is the process to approve a contractor?
How long does it take to approve a contractor?
So right now I have the RFQ out. I have it due May. I can't remember what day. It's coming up. It's like May 13th or 14th. That's a Friday. So it's really dependent on how many applications I get in. But once I get them in, I'm gonna be doing it readily to get that up and running.
And filling out an application and then you get it sort of reviewing it.
Yep, and there's a lot of review. I have to make sure, that one, they're qualified to do the work. They don't have any judgments against them, that they're approved to do work in New York State, that they have the correct insurance, things like that. I will also say anything with New York State, love the state, not gonna say anything too bad about it. Everything takes time. So, and paperwork. So if you're putting in an application, just know that you do have to have patience with it. I know with the total DRI New York Forward process, the village of Cooperstown was done in October and they didn't hear which projects were awarded until May. So this will be a little bit of a faster process, but just know it's not going to be like I handed in my application and it gets approved tomorrow.
I also want to let you know, I said 5 people from Cooperstown will be reviewing. Heather and I are just getting everything together, administering. But no elected officials will be on that 5-person review committee. Obviously, nobody that's submitting an application.
We can put your time.
Yes, we're hanging out here for a couple more minutes. I'm a Cooperstown veteran. I mean, I lived here 3 years with my wife. I worked at the accounting department at the hospital and my wife worked at the Clark Gym and back in 90, 91, 92, right after we got married. And then we started a family. Both moved back home. She's from Ilion, I'm from Ilion, so we live in Ilion. So that's the way it happened.
You know, tonight, when you guys get home, if you end up having other questions, email, call the office, get a hold of us, we can answer them for you. If it's something that you're like, oh shoot, I forgot to ask this, I'm not sure about this. Or if you're deciding to fill out an application and you're not sure what a question is or what it means, we can help you with it. Yeah. Stephen,
I have one
Yeah.
more. So I wanted to ask you about where it says a minimum private match requirement
Yes.
of 25%.
yes.
What is that? I'm sorry if I missed that.
No, so you have to have a minimum match of 25% of the total project. I'm gonna do easy math. So say your total project is $100,000. You have to put up 25,000 and you can request 75,000 through the grant.
That's where the gap.
And that's where the gap
You
financing
could
can
go
come
to
in.
a Woodville Bank or whatever and apply for 75,000. We have a gap financing program, 4% monthly.
Yeah.
So.
So as clarification, in that $100,000 project, we spend the whole 100,000 up front.
Yes.
Give us back 75 if we're approved.
Yes.
Yes,
You have to show proof of the 25% match.
Yeah.
Right.
For the application as well.
And, but it's not just the 25% that's needed. The whole thing.
it's the full shot and then 75% of the project gets reimbursed, yes.
So if you wanted $100,000 grant, you get them $125,000 project. Maybe 5,000. Yeah, I'm trying to do it in my head. Or whatever, it could be $133,000 project.
133,000.
Just divide the amount by 0.75. Like we said, we have the applications up here with our contact information. Nice seeing everyone here tonight. Probably.